I'm certainly glad to be here today. I am going to speak from the podium because when you're a university president and a college football referee, you're looking for protection. And it's always nice to have a nice big podium that provides a little bit of protection from things that are thrown at you. I hope you will allow me today to have a little fun with you. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories as I move along before we start talking about Wingate. But I want to recognize some people and give some acknowledgments right away. First of all, I would not be here today, and Wingate University would not be developing a campus here were it not for Andrew Tate and the Henderson County Partnership for Economic Development. We would not be here today without the strong support of Pardee and Park Ridge Hospital. We would not be here today without the strong support of the county commissioners and the city leadership of Hendersonville. So let me tell you how grateful we are for your support. I also want to recognize, and I don't want to embarrass him, but Al Worley is here today. Al's longtime trustee at Wingate. He's not on the board right now, but during a lot of the infrastructure changes and we were trying to move our institution forward, he was there for a lot of the very important decisions, and it's good to see him with us here today. This is not the first time I've spoken in this area. I was looking back on my notes a while back, and I realized that back when I was at Gardner-Webb, Buddy Freeman, who was the longtime campus minister there, was actually serving as the interim pastor for a church in Hendersonville. And he had to be away. And so he asked me, would you go up and fill the pulpit at my church and just speak to the folks up there? I said, I'll be happy to do that, buddy. So I drove up on Sunday morning. I'm not a minister, but I did the best I could and talked about things and read a few scriptures and talked about my life a little bit, and I actually thought it went pretty well. And afterwards, I'm standing out front, and I was with the chairman of the Board of Deacons, and this gentleman walked up, and he grabbed my hand, and he shook my hand, and he said, you talk too loud. And I thought, well, thank you. I'm always trying to improve, and I appreciate you telling me that. I'll make sure that I consider that. And a little bit I looked, and he was at the end of the line again. And this time when he got there, he said, you talk too long. And I thought, golly, Pete, who is this guy? So I said, well, thank you very much. I'll remember that next time. And I looked, and lo and behold, he's in the back of the line again. And I thought, what in the world? And this time when he gets to me, he says, and what you said wasn't worth listening to begin with. And I thought, man, that's something. I drove an hour and a half up here today to do this and didn't go to church with my family. I'm getting treated like this. And I turned to the deacon chair and I said, who is that gentleman? He said, oh, don't worry about him. He said, he's the town loon. So he just walks around and repeats what he's heard other people say. Somehow that didn't give me a lot of comfort. But anyway, I'm glad to be here. I want to tell you a couple of things about football officiating because some of you probably like to ask me some questions about some particular calls. We'll do that later. But have you ever wondered when you're watching a college football game and something happens and all the referees get together and they talk a little bit and then they come back out and the referee makes some kind of announcement? Have you ever wondered what's going on in that huddle? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to put it in perspective for you. I'm at a game at the University of Virginia. They're playing VMI, a game that shouldn't be played. However, VMI needed the money, and University of Virginia needed to win, so we played the game. Well, the coach from VMI was one of the nicest people I have ever been around in my life, Bob Tallman. He was there 100 years. I love the guy, and I'm on his sideline. All during the game, he's walking in, oh, Jerry, y'all doing a good job. Oh, man, it's a big deal for us, play before 60,000 people, on and on and on. Well, he's just getting killed on the field. And the score is 42-0. And the game is just about over, and a kid from Virginia picks up a fumble and runs it 70 yards for another touchdown. So now it's 49-0. Mr. Coach Tallman's still as nice as he could be. Well, we line up for the kickoff, and the only good player the VMI had was number 50. Big kid, number 50. So we got a kickoff. There's a minute, 12 seconds left in the game. There is a violent collision, and at the end of the play, number 50 is laying face down on the ground, knocked out cold. And while we're trying to get people out to attend to him, I noticed there's a flag on the ground. And I turned to the guy who threw the flag and said, "What is the penalty?" He said, "Hold it on VMI." I said, "They're losing 49-0. A minute, 12 seconds left. What do you mean, holding?" I said, "Who was holding?" But now I got to go tell Coach Tallman who was holding. He said, "Number 50. I said, "Hell, he's dead." He ain't held anybody. The man's laying there. He's dead. Well, before he got killed, he was holding. I said, "Well, I tell you right now, I am not going to the sideline and tell that sweet gentleman over there who's losing 49-0 that his best player who just got killed was holding." So we get together and the referee comes out and says, "There is no penalty on the play." That's what's happening when officials get together on the field. Now you know. You also need to know that football officials are the worst in the world about practical jokes. I mean, I can't tell you how many big-time football games. Michigan, Notre Dame. I officiated the first quarter without a penalty or a flag because the officials had stole it while I was out on the field early in the game. So every time a play ends, I'm running around trying to make a noise like a whistle. And I had one penalty, I had to throw my hat. Coach Holt says, "Why are you throwing your hat?" "See you, Coach." But anyway, we always do those things to one another. And the all-time worst I have to share with you, we've got a game in Alabama. And the game is being played at Birmingham, which they play a lot of the games there. We're flying in. You have a choice. If the game is played starts after 6 o'clock, you can fly in the day of the game. Otherwise, you got to be there at 6 o'clock on Friday night. So the game's at 7 o'clock. So we're three of us flying in. The other official said, "You guys are crazy. What if your flight doesn't get here? You got to do this." And we said, "Well, we're going to stay home with our family on Friday night and fly in Saturday morning." So we're flying in. And the flight attendant comes up to me and says, "Are you one of the officials for the Alabama game today?" And I said, "Yes, I am, but I just assume you not tell anybody on this airplane." And she said, "Well, are you the only one?" I said, "No, there's 3 of us on here. The other 2 are about 6'4", 6'5". And she says, "We got a problem." So what kind of problem? She said, "We just got a call in the cockpit. The game has been moved to noon. And we don't get in till 11:10. And I said, "Well, what are we going to do?" She said, "I don't know. The only thing we can figure is you all can dress on the airplane and run off the plane, and there'll be some people there, a police officer there to take you to the stadium. You go straight to the stadium. They'll have to hold the game till you get there." And we're saying, "Lord have mercy." So now each one of us, you've been in a lavatory on an airplane, right? We got to go in there with our bag and get dressed. Each one of us gets dressed. They put us up in first class so we can get to the door. She announces, "There are 3 officials for the Alabama game." Oh, thank you. Now we got on our striped shirts. So when we get there, we land and we go running into the concourse. And the other 4 officials are sitting there saying, "Why you idiots got your uniforms on?" We said, "Well, the game's been moved to 12 o'clock. And they said, "No, it happened. The game's at 7. So we get ready to go to dinner." And then one of them said, "Did you meet my daughter? She's a flight attendant on that plane." Well, so we do it to one another. We thought it was about time for us to start really introducing our institution to the people of this area. We are making a very large commitment here. Now, I know there are other institutions that occasionally will come in and say, "Well, we'll bring a program in here if you'll give us $2 million. Or we'll come in, we'll think about putting some program up here if you'll give us $2.5 million. What we said to the people of this area is there's a great need here, and we're going to put a program up here with your support, and we're going to spend $500,000 of our money. And we didn't ask anybody here for anything other than an opportunity. Because you see, when we started our pharmacy school, we even started the planning of our pharmacy school 12, 13 years ago. We started looking at a map, and there wasn't a pharmacy school between Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and Memphis, Tennessee. So when we started our program, we assumed responsibility not just for the Piedmont, but providing pharmacists for all of Western North Carolina. From day one, we looked at that as part of our obligation. We have now graduated 3 classes. We'll graduate our 4th class of pharmacists here in a few weeks. A lot of them have come from Western North Carolina. But what we were hoping would happen hasn't happened up to this point. We were hoping that young people from Murphy and Robbinsville and Marion and Hendersonville and Fletcher, that you would come to our pharmacy program, get your degree, and go back there and practice. But they come to Wingate, and they spend 4 years on the outskirts of Charlotte. A lot of their clinicals are in Charlotte, and they start looking around and they say, man, that's a pretty good place to live. And too many of them are winding up moving to Charlotte, when we feel like our obligation is to help you have the trained professionals you need. So we decided it made sense. We've been putting students up here in clinicals the entire time we've had a program. Certainly Park Ridge and Pardee and other hospitals have allowed our students to come in and do their clinicals. So we've got a staff of 5 people in Western North Carolina that have been here a long time. But we feel like it's important to put the entire 4 years of the program here. When young people spend 4 years in your communities, we're confident they'll want to live here and practice here. So we think that's going to be a good thing. We're looking at the needs of the community, and we've been told there are 3 needs. One is for an MBA program, which Mark is working on right now. The second is a pharmacy program, and the third is a physician's assistant program. Our friends in the healthcare industry are quick to tell us that the way we deliver healthcare is changing very rapidly. If you think about it, it just doesn't make sense for you to go sit an hour and a half in a doctor's office when you have a sore throat. And the doctor looks at it and says, yeah, you got a sore throat, here's a prescription. Well, a physician's assistant can do that. And then the physicians can spend their time working with people who are really sick and who really need their help. So as that transitions, you're going to see more and more of the times when you go to the doctor's office or to one of the local pharmacies, you're going to see a physician's assistant who's then going to give you a prescription. That makes a lot of economic sense. Our timetable here is very simple. We're going to have an MBA program officially starting in the fall, but since there's a prerequisite course most people need to take, that'll be done during the summer, so that we can have a cohort of MBA students ready to go in August. We're going to be putting 18 pharmacy students here full-time beginning in August. They're being selected right now. Each year, we can, on our main campus, we can take 84 pharmacy students into our program. We have 1,100 applicants. It's interesting how some of them are self-selecting. They want to come to Hendersonville, because very often we have a student from this area who will say, I don't want to come all the way to Wingate to get my pharmacy degree. Can I go to the Hendersonville campus? Well, absolutely. Well, I checked last week, and of the 18 students that will be here this fall, 9 have already been selected. So the others will be selected very soon. And then we'd like in 2012, we'd like to bring our physician's assistant program here. That program is still relatively new. We just graduated our first class last year, and we're going to, we got to make sure that the accrediting agency nods their head before we come here. But right now we're looking at bringing the program here in the fall of 2012. Again, I thank you for allowing me to be here today. We could not be more excited about being here and working with all of you to make Henderson County a better place. Thanks.